Today I'll be taking a look at the Zaopin Z1 Pro, which is a budget mouse that comes from the company Zaopin. It is one of the many budget mice that we have been seeing flooding the market recently with top-of-the-line specs, or at least industry standard specs. All of these budget mice that have flooded the market recently is really good for the mouse market because they're all incredibly cheap, much more than you would think they would be. And that gives a lot of people a ton of options for when they want to get a new mouse or when they want to actually start, maybe being an enthusiast or something like that. So at the moment, the market is in a really good place because there are a ton of mice that have really high specs but are super duper cheap. If you just go to the MetKeys store and look at new arrivals, you're going to see a lot of different mice that are really light and have all of these top of the line specs. It's actually really impressive. That being said, there of course are some mice that are not good at all, but this one is actually one of the much better ones that you can get for really cheap that has top of the line specs. So when I say top of the line or industry standard specs, pretty much what that means is having a 3395 sensor, having Huano or Cal or Omron switches, which this has Huano, having a TTC golden or silver encoder for the scroll wheel, which this has a golden one, being compatible with 4K, which I think is industry standard. There are other companies and other people who might say that that's not true, but I think that with almost all of these mice, you're seeing them have 4K. So I think 4K really is industry standard. And then having a Nordic chipset, the newest Nordic chipset. In order for this mouse to be compatible with 4K, you do have to purchase a dongle separately with it, but it's only 15 bucks and it comes pretty fast in terms of shipping, and it's also super easy to pair, so really isn't a problem, and I highly suggest getting the 4K dongle with this mouse. Also, just for the sake of the video, whenever I talk about anything, I only used this mouse with 4K because I got these together. Anything I say about it, keep in mind I was only using this with 4K. Moving on to talk about the shape of this mouse, that was one of the biggest selling points to me on this mouse, was the fact that it was egg-shaped. Out of all of those budget mice that you see, there really isn't any of them that are egg-shaped besides the Phantek Aria that have those top-of-the-line specs. However, the Phantek Aria is not compatible with 4K, while this one is. Another thing about the shape of this mouse, this is very similar to the RAZER OROCHI V2, and when we think about comparing it to the Phantek Aria, as it's another egg-shaped mouse with top-of-the-line specs, it is much closer to the Logitech G203. So if you are familiar with the RAZER OROCHI V2 shape, then I definitely would suggest going with this mouse because it's much lighter and, like I said, has top-of-the-line specs. For me, I personally think that the Logitech G203 has a better shape. That wider egg shape is better for me, but this is still a great shape to use for fingertip grip, which is what I use for all of my games. When it comes to fingertip grip, I really think that egg-shaped mice are the best that you can get on the market for use with fingertip grip, besides maybe like an HSK or something like that, if you want to go like full-on true fingertip. But if you're not going to do that, then definitely go with something like an egg-shaped mouse. Because they have those uniform sides, it's really helpful for using with fingertips, so I highly recommend it. Now to talk about the performance of the mouse and what it felt like to actually use it in game. The clicks have very little pre and post travel, similar to, say, the Atlantis Mini, which also has Huano switches. They're super spammable and pretty light. They are very comfortable and nice to use in game, so really no complaints there. Similar to the regular clicks, the side buttons have very little pre and post travel and are easily spammable. They're pretty light. I personally enjoy more tactile clicks and ones that are harder to click, but the general consensus of the public is that they like more light clicks, similar to these clicks that are in the Zaopin, so you really can't take away from the mouse for doing that at all. An example of clicks that I like is something like the Zowie FK2B. They're super tactile, and I really like that a lot with my mice. It's just personal preference. But like I said, you can't really take away from this mouse for not having clicks like that. The middle mouse button on this is amazing. If you compare it to something like the Lamzu, which is much less tactile and really has almost no feedback, it is super duper spammable, and the scrolling is also very good. So I really like the scroll wheel on this mouse. It's really good. The coating is also very similar to the Atlantis Mini. It's soft matte plastic and very easy to grip, so really no complaints there. I also prefer a more glossy finish, similar to the Zowie FK2B, but nowadays no one is ever going to make another glossy mouse, so this is really what most mice are going to be like, and it's a very good coating. The stock skates on this mouse are absolute booty cheeks. They are not good. So if you do plan to get this mouse, then I would go ahead and invest in maybe some Jade skates or something from X-Ray Pad. I personally like the Obsidian Donuts a lot. Those are my favorite, but these stock skates are not good. They felt very, very resistant when I first used them. The mouse pad that I was using this on was the Esports Tiger EBA pad, and I instantly noticed a difference between this and the Esports Tiger Arc skates that I had on my G203. So if you are going to get this mouse, like I said, go ahead and get some different skates for it. The 4K polling rate is super snappy and responsive, and it was really, really easy to pair. Another cool thing about the dongle is that it has a battery indicator on the dongle and shines a different light depending on how much battery you have left, so you can see that from your desk while you're playing. So I did like that a lot. But in terms of the actual polling rate, everything is up to par there. So for this review and for all future reviews, I'm going to give each mouse a rating out of 5. And for the Zaopin Z1 Pro, I'm going to go with a 3.5 out of 5. The reason why it doesn't get a better score than that is because of the shape and because of the stock skates. Like I said, I prefer the G203 shape a little bit better than this one. It's just fatter and it has more flat sides, which I like a lot better when using it with fingertip grip. And like I said, with the skates, they just are not good. So if you are going to get this mouse, definitely get some other skates to accompany it with. But besides that, this mouse is really good, and it comes in at 60 bucks or less depending on where you get it and if you want to get the 4K dongle with it or not. So I definitely highly suggest this mouse if you are a fingertip user. I really enjoyed using it. I really just played Fortnite with it. So if you are in the market, then definitely give this one a shout. Thank you so much for watching my review of the Zaopin Z1 Pro. I am new to this whole review thing, so if you do have any pointers to make my videos better, then please let me know down in the comments. As for future videos, I'm going to take a look at old mice, specifically the G203 and the Zowie FK2B, and see how well they hold up in today's game. I've been using the FK2B a lot recently, and I used the G203 for a little bit as well in the past. So I'm just going to take a look at those and see how well they hold up in today's market. And then I'm also going to take a look at the Atom Palm Hydrogen 2, which is a mouse I just got, so I'm really looking forward to using it. Shout out to SkyCapGG for suggesting that mouse. And again, thank you so much for watching the review, and I'll see you in the next one.